Hey, there's something going on in Georgia that I just want to tell you about because what you're seeing in the news isn't actually what's happening. It's not the full story. You probably heard about the FBI raid and the voting headquarters, right? I think everyone has. And they're spinning it like it's about the FBI finally doing their job, or it's about election integrity or accountability. But that's not what this really is. It's actually not even very close. What this is really about is whether Georgia has been running federal elections at all. And I know that sounds insane, but stick with me for a minute because it's going to blow your mind. Here's a simple version. The U.S. Constitution allows exactly two legal ways to vote in a federal election. One is a real physical paper ballot. The other is a real mechanical voting machine. You know, the old school kind with a lever. And that's it. Those are the rules, the two ways. And federal law is very clear about that. If one of those two methods are not used, the vote doesn't count. Might not count, not questionable. It doesn't count, period. So here's the problem. Georgia doesn't use mechanical voting machines, and they don't give voters real paper ballots either. They use touchscreens, plastic cards, computers, and digital systems, which means, according to federal law, those votes are legally meaningless. So what does Georgia say that they have instead? They say they have records and digital images, and they have scans and computer files. But here's the part that a third grader even understands. A picture of a ballot isn't a ballot. A scan or a computer code isn't a ballot either. And the law is very clear on that. So if you live in Georgia and you didn't vote using one of those two constitutional required methods, then legally there was no election in the first place. Think about that for a second. We thought they were only accused of cheating. What they actually did was sidestep the entire system and convince citizens that they were voting when legally it didn't matter at all. They were participating in a show, a theatrical simulation. Now, fast forward. The Department of Justice shows up with a warrant demanding physical ballots. But Georgia officials have been saying for years that they can't produce physical ballots because they don't have them. So now we're left with two possibilities, and neither one is acceptable. Either Georgia has been illegally hiding real ballots for years, or the ballots never existed because Georgia was never running constitutional elections in the first place. Both options are catastrophic. This is worse than voter fraud. This isn't cheating within the system. This is bypassing the system entirely. It's a complete farce on our republic and on representative democracy itself. And here's where it gets even darker. Because during the counting process, there were official election observers, lawful observers, who objected. And they protested the manipulation. They raised alarms about what was happening. And what happened? Well, they were removed by police for interfering with polling locations. Not the officials running the process, not the people violating procedure, and not the people overseeing a system that wasn't constitutional to begin with. These observers were treated as a problem. And this is where people really need to wake up, because what this shows you is what happens when people are forced to choose between the Constitution and their personal livelihood. When it comes down to integrity versus a job, a pension, a mortgage, or feeding your kids, most people choose their job. And that's not because they're evil, it's because they're human. That's where America is right now. Police officers, law enforcement, public officials, they're being pushed and forced into a position where they have to decide, do I follow the law or do I protect my family? And the system is designed so that if you choose the law, you lose everything. And while all of this is happening, everyone's screaming, Stephen, why aren't you talking about the Epstein files? Look, anyone who hurts kids deserves the harshest punishment imaginable. I would do it myself. That matters, of course. It matters. But if this gets ignored, those same people get more power, more control, and total control. So while we're distracted by headlines and outrage, the foundation is being removed under our feet. And once real elections don't exist anymore, it doesn't even matter who you're mad at. Look, you and I, we're not enemies. We want the same thing, a safe, fair, prosperous America for our kids and our grandkids. And that's why Take America Back exists. That's why I founded it. To restore citizen-servant leadership where power actually lives, in the precincts, city councils, and school boards. We can only fix it from the bottom up. What you're seeing right now is a system that has been monetized against the people, insulated by debt, coercion, blackmail, and profit. And we're going to fight that at the grassroots level, nonpartisan and relentlessly until it's fixed. So go to jointab.us, support the mission, join the movement, help us take America back with presence, integrity, and courage. Because if we don't start fixing this right now, we may not get another chance.